Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Inside Plainmoor. I hope you're all keeping safe and well, of course. Well, it's been an interesting week at Plainmoor following the release of the retained list on Monday. Let's see what the Gaffer had to say this week. Good afternoon, Gary. It's that time of the week again. How's things going?
Yes, going okay. We had a good Zoom meeting today with all the players, all the contract players. So we thanked them for their loyalty, and we spoke about very quickly. We've got to start thinking about the coming season and whenever it may come. So just to get in their minds that they've got to start, keeping a lookout for their weight and keep a lookout for their fitness, and just tick it over at the moment. But obviously the crescendo will hit when the government allows teams to train again. But we hope it's sooner rather than later. But we've got our thoughts on our squad and the season that will be coming up whenever it comes. So the lads are appreciative, I think. Well, I know from for what the club's done. It has given them that security in their families. So at least they know when they are training hard, they're training, for the club that they're under contract to. So that's nice. That won't be the same with all players in the coming months.
No, absolutely. I mean, we spoke earlier in the week regarding the retain list, of course, and we've also been catching up with some of the players themselves this week. I think the overriding feeling, Gary, seems to be one of relief that things have been sorted so quickly. Do you feel that as well?
Yeah, I think so. I know so. I mean, it is relief for the boys and their families. Of course, it is. It's relief for the staff because we know that the club wants us around. B, the club and the staff, the players will know that the club and the staff want them around. So at the moment we're starting off on a good footing of trust in each other. And we always use this phrase of trust your teammates. Players that you can trust, but they've got to trust the whole club as well, and that's important. So we push that quite a lot, and we certainly it's all right saying it, but I think the club have proved it over the last few weeks.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously there's a lot of unknowns still out there at the moment, Gary. We've already said that we don't know when the league's going to get started again. So what's the next step from here, Gary, with all those unknowns? Where do we go from here at the moment?
Well, it's a difficult one because how long's a piece of string, as I say. We keep hearing rumours. I think we've still got to wait for the government's decision on relaxing the lockdown, what they do as far as what their plans are for the future on the lockdown situation. I don't think football's quite ready myself right this minute, but as I say, at least some of the leagues have still got that little bit of hope that they might be playing at some time. But so you've got the government first and foremost got to make their decision. Then the Premier League have got to make their decision. When they've made their decision, the EFL can start making their decisions. And then I think the National Conference has just suddenly said that they now are waiting for the EFL, to make their decision, so we can sort of make our decision. So it's a long process of a lot of very, very difficult questions for the authorities and the hierarchy, because you definitely will not please everybody all of the time in this situation.
Yeah, like you said, it's a real chain of events, isn't it? It's just a good job that the club have done everything they can to sort things out as quickly as possible. Obviously, there will, as you've already alluded to, come a point where you're going to be looking to bring players in, although not just yet. But how do you replace players that have served the club so well, but still maintain that DNA that you've created here at Torquay United? I know you've always talked before about Torquayfying players.
Yeah, no, it's important to get a DNA and an identity for your club, because players that you're out there looking for, we need to know what we're looking for, and agents know what we're looking for. Players would have, if they do their homework, will know what we're looking for. And it means that if we approach somebody, we've got something. We have our own principles. We have a DVD on our defending principles, our club principles, and our attacking principles. And if we're interested in someone and he's interested in us, then the first thing we do is send him the principles. But before we do that, we just make really sure that they can come into our family, if you like. If you bring a wrong one in, or you bring somebody in that is not quite with the group of the same mentality, then that can be a big negative. And then somebody who's a bit like that needs, misery needs company, as they say, and which is probably why you've got that cup behind you, keep you happy. Well done, mate. And so they then sort of, sometimes if they're big, strong characters, they'll drag other people in, and then before you know it, you've got an unhappy dressing room. So we've got to make sure that, we're all there for the right reasons. All of us want this promotion, and we make sure through our contacts. So if a player has played at a certain club, and I've worked with any player that's at that club, or we know the manager, then we'll talk about their personality and are they motivated? Can you motivate them? Do they give you any problems? That sort of thing. What are they like in a dressing room? Because sometimes they can have quality but cost you more points because of their character or their personality. So we make very, very much, we make sure that as we say, we get the right people on our bus.
So it sounds, there's obviously a lot of homework that goes on in behind the scenes, as there are for each individual match, is the preparation that goes behind it. But it also, must, with all that in mind, then it just shows how happy you are with the characters that you've got in the dressing room at the moment, that you've been happy to offer them all, new contracts.
Yeah, I think the good part about that is I think the boys are happy with the other boys. You know what I mean? If any of those 12 that have signed contracts didn't want to play anymore with these teammates, then we probably would have lost a few more. But I think talking to them all today via Zoom, they all seem very, very focused as a team and as a group, that they want to go that next step up, and I think they feel that there's still success to be had because they enjoyed it last year. Yes, we've lost a couple, but when I write my book, I'll be able to I'll be able to say what went on, etc., etc. But it's always a shame to lose people because they were part of our group. But now we've got to find the next few players that can join us that will enhance our DNA and not sort of like set it back.
Yeah. Well, please be kind to me in that book, Gary. But it certainly sounds with the players that they're eager to, in the chats we've been having with them, that they're eager to get back into training and be amongst each other again. Does it remain a possibility? It could be opening up a can of worms here, but does it remain a possibility that some of the loan players that we had last year could return to the club?
Well, there's certainly some of them I'd love to return to the club, but of course they're under contract to their clubs that they're at now, and those clubs have not, they haven't cancelled their seasons yet, so they have gone back and may, who knows, play a part in the season for their own clubs if the season starts. Now, when the season finishes, for whatever reason, whether it finishes now because nobody plays, or whether it finishes later on down in, past July and August, then of course, then they become available again. So, I'll be talking to clubs at the right time regarding players that we have identified that we'd like to bring in to our squad on loan. But there's definitely a couple that we've already had on loan that I'd love to have back. So we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, so a case of wait and see on that one. Now, like you've already said, Gary, not quite ready for football here in the UK yet, but football is beginning to resurface in other countries. It's been going in Belarus for a number of weeks now, and actually in Korea on Friday. I think you've seen a couple of those games. What were your thoughts, Gary?
Well, at first I thought I'd really enjoy it. You know, there's a little bit of live football sort of thing, but of course, the Belarusian one, you could hear everybody shouting and screaming, and there was no real atmosphere in the stands. It was just coaches and players, etc. And obviously, you couldn't. It'd have been better if we had an interpreter, you know, telling us what they were saying, and then it made it more interesting. But it was, so I didn't really watch that for too long because it just made me feel disappointed that we haven't got any football sort of thing. And of course, South Korea, which you kindly sent me over the link, was the first game today of their season because their coronavirus is, you know, down to nil, which is great. And I watched that, and that was very interesting for the little bits and pieces they're doing around the stadium, the atmosphere that they're trying to create. And I thought it worked quite well. And I think if there was no noise and no atmosphere, the game wouldn't have been too great sort of thing. It just shows you how sometimes an atmosphere makes a game, you know, seem better. But so it doesn't take the place of, you know, our English football and what we do and so on. So, but it's all we got at the moment. So we'll have to, you know, just keep an eye on it. And we can't bring any players over from South Korea because of the international clearance. I don't know, unless one of them's got an Italian mother or something. But anyway, it's just of interest during the 24 hours where there's sometimes a few hours you think, well, I'll watch a bit of football.
Was there any parallels at all between the Belarusian Premier League and your spell in Latvia? Was there any similarities at all? Did it bring back any memories at all?
Yeah, the memories were, I mean, obviously I was the national coach, but I was also coach for Skonto Riga. I wasn't, there was a head coach, and as national coach, I would come in daily really, because as a national coach, there's not something to do every day. And I would work with them, I'd watch them train. So, because most of the Latvian national team belonged to the top side in that country, and that was Skonto Riga. So I was able to watch them daily, work with them daily, work the actual head coach there, Alexander Starkos. He was my assistant for the national team. So it worked very well. I was probably one of the only national coaches that was able to, you know, be with and see quite a lot of his players sort of thing. And then I gradually got seven players into the English league, which is what they wanted me to do. Marian Pahars, people will remember. They might remember the Arsenal boy, Igor Stefanos. You know, we got him over here, along with 5 others. Vitalis Astafias, he was our captain. He went to Bristol Rovers. So that allowed me to go from Latvia to do quite a little bit of work over here when I had 7 players playing over it. Obviously, Marianne's and Igor's in the Premiership. So that was nice for me to be able to come back. The standard of the league itself was probably similar to the Belarusian standard. Not great atmospheres, but you know, it needed to be a big game to get a good atmosphere. There was only, when I was there, because it was a small country, 10 teams in the Latvian league. So you know, it was great to be the national coach, but I wouldn't have necessarily wanted to have been a coach at one of the teams other than Skonto Riga, who actually got into the European competitions every year because they won the league every year.
Yeah, they really were the dominant side over there, weren't they, at the time?
Yeah. But that's another chapter in my book, that Latvia one. So order it now. No, I don't know if I'm doing one yet. I won't tell.
Well, you're certainly pronouncing the names much better than I would. We've also had a nice story. We've also had a nice.
Sorry, Don. I was going to say that you know, you're talking about the Latvians and the language and everything. When I went over there, I tried to learn Russian. They spoke Russian. There was a Latvian language and Russian, but they didn't want me to do that. They wanted the boys to speak English because they felt if they did come into Europe, they at least would get you know, the feeling of understanding English a little bit more when they did come over. But there's a lot of, and I think it's carried on, that there's a lot of Cockney words now in the Latvian language over there, and my sayings and things like that. So there's a lot of Cockney speaking Latvians, and of course, you know, it did help them for when they came over here. So that was so I tried to learn Russian or Latvian, but in the end, I didn't need to.
So you really have written yourself into the history of everything in Latvia then?
Yeah, well, you know, there's still be Gary Johnson sayings all over Latvia.
I just thought we'd touch upon a nice story that we've had sent to us this week. Vivian Bell, who's a Talk United season ticket holder, got in touch with us this week to tell us about their grandson, who's called Austin. He made a real difference with a kind act this week. Vivian's daughter actually has been helping a group who make scrubs for Torbay Hospital and community workers. And there's a special call out this week for child-friendly fabric for the doctors and nurses to wear to ease some of the anxieties and nerves that some of the children might have that are being treated there. And Austin, who also is a big Talk United fan, donated his football and Spider-Man quilt covers at short notice. So just think we'd like to say, you know, well done to Austin on that act of kindness.
Yeah, of course we do. I mean, there's a lot of people done a lot of great things, and Austin will be one of those now. So well done, Austin. I'm sure that all your clothes and stuff are probably the same size as mine, so I might have to do the same for you. And if you need a couple of suits, I've got a couple that I'm not wearing anymore. So no, well done, Austin. It's a brilliant thing to do, and his family, and you know, it's fantastic how many people are doing such things. But that puts him on the list as well. So congratulations, and all those people should get a medal when we come out of this situation, because they really, you know, brightened up people's lives in a sort of a downer period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done to all of you, and we look forward to see you back at Plainmoor as soon as possible. Now, obviously, finally, this week marks the 75th anniversary of VE Day, and even though we are in very difficult times ourselves at the moment, I feel it's important that we recognise these events as best we can, Gary. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. You know, we've got new heroes, haven't we, in the NHS, of course, that we're out there clapping. It's good to excuse me. It's good to remember the you know, the folk that went to war, the men and ladies, and you know, got our freedom, as it were. I don't want to do a Winston Churchill type speech, and I wouldn't be able to. But I think it's great to remember things like that, because we realise, you know, what they went through, and it probably helps us that, you know, we're going through nothing like what they went through. So you know, theirs was, I mean, I suppose this is a matter of life and death as well, but it's a different type of war. But they spent, what was it, 5 years or whatever it was, you know, being in a danger situation. So you know, credit to all of them that fought to save our freedom, and I'm pleased that we're all a part of you know, looking back as well to see what they, you know, that had to do, but to commemorate the day of VE Day, which is a victory in Europe, if I'm right. And well done to all of them, and thank you.
I know at the end of this programme we'll be playing out with a nice little tribute that you and Karen put together. One of the first question and answer sessions that you did ended with you saying that we'll meet again, and that seems to have been mentioned many times since. It sounds like you've got quite a fan club out there, Gary.
I know. What's that word? I wrote it down. Plagiarism. So I didn't expect the Queen to nick me. We'll meet again for this current situation. And then Vera Lynn stole me thunder with, you know, she's having a concert tonight. But no, well, listen, it's so poignant, isn't it? That particular song and that particular phrase. At this moment in time, it was then and it is now. So you know, it's nice that me and my wife have just put something together at the end of this video just to you know, commemorate VE Day, and of course, you know, I don't mind the Queen nicking my sayings, or Vera Lynn really. So I'm just pleased to be a part of it.
Okay, well, we'll leave things the same as we always do. The same message as ever. Take care, keep safe. Thank you for your continued support, and we'll see you all again soon.
Yeah, look after yourselves, be vigilant, and enjoy any celebrations for VE Day. With make sure you're still social distancing if you can. But we'll see you all soon. And do I say it? No, I'll say it in the song.
We'll meet again. Don't know when, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Keep smiling through, just like you always do. But I know we'll meet again some sunny day.